that I found interesting. Mr. Santos, does the census count determine the House districts in each state?
No, it does not.
No, it doesn't. So when the chairman says that 100% of the 3 or 4 seats that were miscounted would be Republican, that's not based on the census numbers, right?
Correct.
No, that's based on Republican gerrymandering. And I raised North Carolina as just one example. If you want to talk about the difference in the majority in the House, North Carolina is pretty much a 50-50 state. And yet, this past cycle, the North Carolina legislature gerrymandered North Carolina to remove 3 Democratic seats and make 3 more Republican safe seats to go from a 7-7 split to a 10-4 split. Now, I think the chairman would agree with me that 3 seats flipped right there make the difference in the majority in the House. And it is, in fact, just an assumption of the chairman that Republican states where the legislature, Republican-controlled legislatures, would automatically make additional seats Republican, even though, as my colleague from Texas pointed out, the vast majority of new residents in Texas are in urban areas, which traditionally vote Democratic, rather than in areas that traditionally vote Republican. So it is noteworthy that the assumption of that the census was politically motivated is based on nothing, and then the assumption that the results hurt Republicans, of course, is based on the assumption and expectation that Republicans would use gerrymandering to favor themselves. I want to focus briefly on another issue that has been sort of percolating in this hearing, which is the issue of citizenship. And you, I believe you've said you've done some research on the impact of a citizenship question on the census. Have you or your agency estimated the number of people who would not respond because if there were a citizenship question?
We have done research that gives those estimates. I would like to use that as a question for the record. We have the research we're happy to provide. Mm-hmm.
Well, I've seen numbers of 9 million, which is quite significant. And am I correct that the census, of course, is not just about apportionment, right? It determines a lot of different things. Am I correct?
That is correct.
And in fact, in 2021 alone, there were 353 federal assistance programs that used the census data to distribute $2.8 trillion to communities across the country. And those programs obviously go to services regardless of whether someone is a citizen or not. In fact, some of the census data, am I correct, was essential in deploying recovery funding in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Correct.
Now, putting Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s views to the side, did the COVID virus ask people whether they were citizens or not before it infected them?
No.
No. The bottom line is we've heard voter fraud, which is effectively not a problem. And we've also heard a lot of misinformation coming from Mr. Trump about the purpose of immigration to increase voting and increase Democrats voting. In fact, Elon Musk has been a big believer in this bogus theory about how Democrats, I think he said, are deliberately doing voter importation to swing states and fast-tracking them to citizenship. are you aware of how long it takes for someone to get citizenship?
I am not aware of the specific, but I know that it takes many years.
Yeah. On average, it often takes far more than 10 years. And that's, in fact, I was talking to some of my Republican colleagues who were citing examples of 13 and 14 years, and that was someone who was married to a naturalized citizen. So this notion that there's some nefarious purpose to increase democratic voting, when of course voting requires citizenship, not being counted in the census, is completely bogus, and we ought to debunk it right here. And I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. At the request of the witness, we will take a short 5-minute break. Bathroom